Fam, what it do? I got 1 and 2 just for you. Fight Island, let's go to the beach, baby. Fight card number 1. A little slow at starts and honestly in the reverse. Little fast and then ended a little dead. Ige versus Kattar. Let's be honest, this was an introductory card to some new players at featherweight. That featherweight turnover was so quick last year. You got to introduce yourself to Dan Ige. Split decision over Edson Barbosa. Skeptical House. 7-fight win streak maybe. That's something you can hang your head on. Jeremy Stephens gets executed by Kattar. He deserves a step up. But what did we get? Technical performance. Dan Ige showing a little bit of heart in round number 2. But to be honest, after that, I went to sleep. West Coast, you guys can eat your hearts out. These East Coast boys got to get our naps in, man. We got great ale and great beds on the side of the United States of America. Oh, man. The undercard was just full of, like I said, names that you need to look out for. Let me hit my list up real quick. Oh, my goodness. Manur Lazez in a fight of the night with Razak Al-Hassan. What a war. Just throwing hammers. Mayhem from beginning to very end. Talia Santos, UFC debut up against Meatball Molly McCann. That is a big name in a shallow pool. And she made it look easy. Easy work by the Brazilian. That was just incredible. To defeat Molly on the ground like that and to nullify her boxing, we got to look out for her at that flyweight. Also, we're going to move on around to Lerone Murphy. It was not hip to this guy. I thought Ramos was somebody that was really breaking out at featherweight, especially for that Brazilian market. Good looking dude, impressive submissions, nice long frame. But goodness gracious, Lerone Murphy with the good old school ground and pound. Shout out Mark Randleman and Kevin Randleman and Mark Coleman. Basically, Godfathers allowed this young man and paved the way for a dominating victory over a great prospect. This was like a prospect's delight. Hardcore fans, which I am a fan favorite fighter, but the people who are really in the know, the people who I aspire to learn from, they were having a field day with these young guys, and I was super impressed by everything that they did here. Moving on down, we've got Bukalkis, who gets one of the most bizarre finishes that I've seen. He hits him with the Travis Brown elbows against the fence to his opponent. Opponent drops. Referee tries to get his attention multiple times, asking if he's okay. Are you okay? Are you okay? And at the end of the day, he doesn't really respond. His body language was really droopy, and honestly, I didn't like it. I thought he was knocked out from that point. But soon as the referee asks him maybe a 4th time, the cage door opens behind him and he falls out of the cage backwards, and the referee calls the fight there. I don't know. A lot of controversy was made over this. I guess they thought, oh my goodness, they opened the cage and that's why he looked knocked out, and the referee was influenced by the idiot who opened the cage. I honestly think the referee was more influenced by the lack of understanding and him getting his questions answered. That was more prevalent, and it happened first. But Bukalkis, great name, wonderful story, and people like that, long, new, fresh, in like middleweight where the division has turned over, but a bit slowly. That's nice to see. Really nice to see. And speaking of seeing is believing. Goodness gracious, we have Khamet Shimiev. That's right. That's gonna be Googler's delight. Thank you guys for helping me out in the comments with that pronunciation later on. What a phenomenal win over a tough John Phillips, somebody who, he's coming out of that Welsh market, big power, durable guy. And he made it look easy work, cut him up, took him down, smashed Khabib style, and made it look easy. Flawless victory, so flawless in fact he has a chance to match a UFC record 10-day turnaround as he goes into fighting on UFC Fight Island 3. Peats. That is just so insane to me. Unfortunately, what's a great way to just ruin a card? Just a whole main card full of decisions. A lot of introductions were made. There was a lot of great performances. Like I said, Talia Santos and my boy Moon Lazez. But when the main card drags on like that and the main event doesn't have any star power whatsoever, you're going to have a little bit of problems. Fight Island number 1 got off a little bit slow. But what can we say? They didn't have a lot of name value in the beginning. They were a little bit of the upper echelon in that top 10 of the featherweight division. We had Burgos and Emmett, upper echelon in that featherweight division, in the upper bracket of that top 10, and you had to see that. We also had main events such as Poirier and Hooker to go up against too, so we're putting these guys under a microscope, and we're really being hard on some of the hardest workers in all of sports. At the end of the day, Calvin Kattar needed to secure that bag. He did it against a very tough guy. Edson Barboza wasn't as lucky as Calvin Kattar was, so let's not pretend that this wasn't a tough bout. But as far as bouts going forward, Kattar has entered now, I like to call the Shark's Tank. There's a Hawaiian there, there's an American, and there's a Korean. He can go any way that he wants, but all 3 of those fights would be amazing if he could come away the victor. Honestly, I would like to see Max Holloway get a win, and if they're not going to get him the immediate title shot, going up against somebody like Kattar, who's been active, extremely durable, somebody that can push the pace now that we've seen him go 5 rounds, and not that big of a name. That could be a good way to get him back to the top 5 without having to face a killer like Korean Zombie or a smasher like Emmett. I wonder if Emmett's healthy. I gotta look that up. Can you guys let me know that down in the comments if Emmett needs surgery or not? Hit me up on Twitter as well. Keep good, Keith. Let's just roll right on into number dos. Dos Island dos. Goodness gracious. The flyweight titles on the line. Benavidez, last chance. Figueroa, chance at redemption. What a fight. What a card. And in the main event, Davis and Figueroa defeats Joseph Benavidez in a heartbreaker for hardcore fans. Oh, pour one out for poor Joey B. By stoppage. He finishes him in the first round by TKO. And goodness gracious, Davis and Figueroa at 18-1 is just devastating. He's one of the hardest hitters at flyweight, period. He doesn't even deserve to be the flyweight champion. He hit so goddamn hard. I feel like Joey B was just outmatched. He's been outmatched by the former champion Demetrius Johnson and the current champion Figueroa. But he had a win over Henry Cejudo in his developmental stage. He can lean back on that. But 0-4 at the big show, you're getting in those Cerrone territories. Doesn't mean you're not a great fighter. You're one of the best in the world. Screw that. You are one of the best in the world for the last 11 years. And you deserve accolades and praise. Man, it's just, can we get a feel-good story? Can we please get a feel-good story to just make things just a little bit better? I got one for you at the end of the show. A special shout out, but goodness gracious, just feel gutted. You come all the way out to Abu Dhabi with your wife and just got to deal with this loss. A loss that's going to basically seal your career into a Bisping sort of state. It's pretty sad. But with one featherweight down, we get the rise of a new featherweight in Askar Askarov, the undefeated 11-0-1 Russian, defeats Alexander Pantoja by unanimous decision. Grappling. Abu Dhabi loves it. You didn't know that by now? Now you definitely know. Goodness gracious. Pantoja did everything he can to keep him off of him, but those guys wrestle bears over there in the snow from Dagestan. Goodness. Askar's pace and his right and left jab were so damn crisp. Pantoja just could not get a good rhythm going, and every time he did, He would be on the ground, getting taken down, getting smashed. Pantoja's great in jiu-jitsu, so that really impressed me. His record impresses me too. It feels like we got a clear next title contender and an exciting fight at flyweight. Like, this is striker versus grappler. This is the Hammers of Figueroa versus the Craftmans of Askarov. I'm so actually, there's a pulse. The flyweight division is alive. It's living, breathing, and growing. What more could you want out of a stacked UFC roster already to actually have intrigue in the flyweight division when even the women's flyweight division doesn't have any intrigue anymore? That's so crazy to me. It's so impressive that we have such talents at this low weight class, and I hope that people finally start to wake up after seeing the dominance of Henry Cejudo, that these guys are impressive. These guys have skills, techniques, and now they have knockout power. Let's go. Figueroa versus Askarov. We can do this at any time, any point, anywhere. I'm all said. A very intriguing and entertaining card from top to bottom. Really, honestly, showing off those lower weight classes. On the prelims, we had Brett Johns. We had the newcomers at flyweight and bantamweight. That was very entertaining as well. On the main roster, we can just take a step back and just let's take a breath and have a little bit of clarity for the queen of violence at flyweight. Goodness gracious, UFC in these lower weight classes are just stupendous. Ariane Lipsky comes out and just snaps Dread's knee in half in one of the most gruesome submissions we've seen in a long time. Contender for submission of the year, definitely. Horrible sound. I can remember I was actually in the bathroom and I just heard Dread scream. Ah. Oh man. Terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Queen of violence indeed. She's earned that moniker well. Just dominant, 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 dominant. And that's what we need to see, especially at this flyweight division, at women's flyweight. Who is even there? Who's around? We have a few contenders, but no one is really clear number one. No one has really shown the skills that think that maybe they can take on Valentina Shevchenko. But at least we have some fun girls going out there and ripping knees apart. That was cool, right? Yes, it was. The answer is yes. That is the answer, and it's the only right one. Speaking of the right answer, Rafael Fiziev had the answer for Mark DeCasey. You know, being a striking coach for a whole team of elite fighters probably going to put you ahead of the game in the whole striking department. So the fact that DeCasey even decided to go hands up with him is, by lack of a better word, not smart. And the Matrix boy just put on a show. Body work, knees, clinch, elbows, doing everything he wanted to do to Mark DeCasey. And DeCasey was just overwhelmed with the variety, diversity, and the power. Goodness, he was a tank out there. Lightweight just got a new contender at 27 years old, guys. Rafael Fiziev, 27 years old. Tiger Showman, striking coach. Come on, boys. Gotta get behind this guy. He packs the heat. Man, that main card was super, super powerful. I'm going to move down to the we're moving all around because these performances were ridiculously impressive, and we got to move on to the co-main event now. And Jack Hermanson is horrifying, and he's no joke. Jack Hermanson defeats Calvin Gastelum. Thank goodness Dana White said this is a crossroad fight for Calvin Gastelum. He's only 28 years old. He's so young, but the size of these middleweights are a problem. Even Darren Till, who was a former welterweight, is so big. He has an issue with getting on the inside, and he takes those risks that allow him to get on the inside. It's not a bad thing. It's not the worst thing ever. It's helped him at the lower levels against, maybe the older guys, Belfort and Kennedy, or maybe some sub-elite guys. But these top 5 guys, they're not going to go for that. And Hermanson was big, long, and even when Calvin Gastelum got the takedown, he was able to get that heel hook, and Calvin had no choice but to tap. Thank goodness he did because of what happened earlier. Ariane Lipsky. That's why I needed to mention that, man. These submissions were vicious and terrifying. And he set it out. Round robin bracket tournament. We got the Gorilla versus Whitaker next week. We're going to preview that a little bit later. And then we have the middleweight championship that was announced for September 19th, boys. We've got it, UFC 235, Costa versus Adesanya. We're doing it big, boys. Location to be determined, but that's going to be one of the biggest fights of the year. Honestly, the biggest pay-per-view of the year so far announced. DC and Stipe, no disrespect, but this bad blood is going to boil over, and everybody loves the big beefy boys. Big beefy boys rule the world. September 19th, 235. Adesanya will sleep them. Or will we have another Brazilian champion while we just crowned one tonight? Goodness gracious. What an amazing card that's coming up. What an amazing card that we just had, man. And before I end the show, I wanted to give a special shout out to one of the competitors who competed on Fight Island 1. I really wanted to set him apart from the rest of the show because the story is just amazing. I want to shout out to a competitor at flyweight from the East Coast of the United States. I believe he fights out of Tiger Showman. Could be wrong. I'm so sorry if I am. Jared Flash Gordon, an individual who has gone through extreme diversity and extremely devastating events leading up to his fight. It was known that he had tested positive for coronavirus, and he was actually had the quarantine and was released after he was known for a false positive. But within that false positive, he was the only one that was lucky. His entire corner tested positive for COVID-19, and this virus just devastated his entire team, training, preparation, mind state, and he still went out there at a higher weight class and got the job done. In light of all this, it was found out that he actually suffered an even worse tragedy. His wife had had a miscarriage a few weeks before the fight was even announced during these horrible times, during the horrible global bastard. And my heart just ached for him the entire time of the fight, and I just wish that something good could have happened to him for one of the good guys in the sport. And so happy that it did, in light of what happened with Joseph Benavidez. And you don't see so many good guys like Walt Harris get the goodwill, and even Cody Stamann lost to Jenny Rivera after getting his feel-good story. At the end of the day, we got to support each other, and we got to lift up the people who have gone through extreme depression, probably adversity, struggles, and put them on a higher platform. Jared Gordon, you are an amazing competitor, a strong man, and one of the best fighters the UFC has employed. Good on you, and I just wanted to give a special shout out to you.